The Fox News studio was a place where noise was normal. Every night, the lights, the voices, the debates all filled the air without a single moment of real quiet. But tonight was different. For the first time in over 20 years, that famous studio fell completely silent. Not because of a technical issue, not because the cameras stopped rolling, but because something had just happened that no one saw coming. The man who made his career by always having the last word, Sean Hannity, sat frozen. His mouth was slightly open. His eyes stared across the table, and for once, no words came out. The camera stayed on his face, capturing the exact second when he realized he had no comeback. Next to him, his co-host Ainsley Earhart, who always kept her smile, looked stunned. She wasn't smiling now. She didn't even try to step in to help. The whole room felt the weight of the moment. How did it get to this point? To understand, we need to go back to the beginning. Sean Hannity isn't just another news anchor. He's one of the most powerful voices on television. For over 22 years, he's ruled Fox News's primetime hours. Millions of people watch him every night. He's known for his fast, aggressive style, firing off questions that leave politicians scrambling. Many are afraid to go on his show because they know what's coming. Interruptions, tough questions, and tricks designed to make them look weak. Hannity doesn't just report the news. He shapes the way millions of people think about it. He's also been a trusted ally to Donald Trump, using his platform to defend and promote the former president. To many, Hannity is the voice of conservative America, and he's proud of that. On the other side of the table tonight sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. At first glance, she might have seemed like easy prey. Young, new to Congress, elected in 2022, she didn't have the years of political battle scars that others did. But looks can be misleading. Before Congress, she was a public defender and civil rights lawyer. She spent her days in courtrooms, standing up to tough judges and sharp prosecutors. She learned how to stay calm, no matter how hard someone tried to shake her. In Congress, she'd already gone viral for her smart, sharp responses in hearings. People knew she could think fast and hit back with facts. Still, Hannity thought tonight would go like it always did. He would ask hard questions. She would struggle. His audience would cheer him on. But behind the scenes, some at Fox News weren't so sure. Producers warned Hannity not to take her lightly. They'd seen how she handled pressure. She's not like the others, they said. But Hannity brushed it off. He had done this too many times to count. Another Democrat, another win for him. Or so he thought. Tonight would turn out to be anything but routine. What was about to happen wouldn't just be another clip from another debate. It would become one of those rare moments where everything changes. One sentence, delivered at just the right time, would flip the power in that room, and it would send shockwaves far beyond that studio. This was the night someone finally stood up to Hannity on his own turf, and won. Get ready to see how preparation.com and sharp thinking can take down even the loudest voice on TV. The stage was set. As the familiar Fox News theme played, millions of viewers tuned in, ready for what they thought would be another standard Hannity segment. Sean Hannity sat tall at his desk, that trademark smirk on his face, the smirk that said he had done this 1,000 times and was about to do it again. Across from him walked Jasmine Crockett, dressed in a sharp black blazer. She moved with quiet confidence, her expression serious but calm. She wasn't nervous, at least not on the outside. Hannity welcomed her in his usual tone, polite but firm, already setting the trap. He thought he was in control. The cameras rolled. The clash had begun. Without wasting a second, Hannity went on the attack. He leaned forward, eyes locked on his guest, and fired off his first question. But it wasn't really a question, it was a storm of accusations. He spoke of the border crisis, illegal immigrants flooding Texas, fentanyl pouring in, families living in fear. He said Democrats, like Crockett, were blocking every common-sense plan to fix it. His words came fast, each one designed to put her on the defensive. Hannity had done this before. It was his go-to move. He expected her to stumble, to try to explain herself, maybe to backtrack or lose her cool. This was how he won. But Crockett didn't flinch. She didn't rush to defend herself. Instead, she spoke slowly and clearly. She pointed out the problem with Hannity's question. He had packed so many assumptions and claims into one sentence that it wasn't even a fair question anymore. She calmly explained that Democrats care about border security, but what they oppose are political stunts that don't solve anything. Her tone stayed steady. She didn't raise her voice or try to match his speed. This was the first sign that something was different tonight. Hannity noticed it too. His smirk faded just slightly, so he tried another tactic. If he couldn't catch her with loaded questions, maybe he could attack her background. He pointed out that she was new to Congress, just elected in 2022. He suggested that she was too inexperienced to talk about serious issues like border security. Normally, this would throw a guest off, but Crockett didn't let it shake her. She fired back that her years as a public defender in Texas gave her real-world experience that many in Congress didn't have. She had seen how broken the immigration system was. She had worked with families, seen lives torn apart. That wasn't inexperience, that was expertise. Hannity interrupted, trying to cut her off, but she held the floor, calm, focused, in control. The tension grew. Hannity decided to bring out the big guns, numbers. He rattled off statistics: border encounters up 300%, drug deaths at record highs, seizures through the roof. His words came faster now, trying to bury her in facts and figures. This was his classic move to overwhelm guests, to make them look small next to the data. But Crockett didn't miss a beat. She calmly put the numbers in context. She explained that border encounters included people seeking asylum, which was legal. That most fentanyl came through legal entry points, not between them. That record seizures meant border agents were doing their job, not failing. Each time she took his weapon and turned it back on him, the more he tried, the more it slipped from his grasp. The studio felt the shift. The usual script wasn't playing out. Ainsley Earhart glanced back and forth between them, clearly uncomfortable. This wasn't the normal Hannity show where the guest struggled and Hannity took control. The producers and crew behind the scenes felt it too. The energy had changed. Hannity, so used to owning the room, was starting to look frustrated. His usual tricks weren't working. The audience watching at home and in the studio could sense it. Everyone was leaning in, waiting to see what would happen next. The balance of power was shifting, and the clash was only just beginning. Hannity's frustration had been building, and now he was ready to go for the knockout. His voice sharpened. His stare grew harder. This was his final assault, the move that had worked so many times before. He dropped all talk of policies and facts. Instead, he aimed straight at Crockett's character. He called her extreme. He said she was out of touch, pushing radical ideas that most Americans didn't want. He called her inexperienced and suggested she was exactly what was wrong with today's Democratic Party. He leaned back slightly, confident he had landed a crushing blow. The studio went completely still. Even the usual background noises seemed to fade. Everyone waited for Crockett to break under the pressure, to stumble, to get angry, or to lose her cool. But what came next shocked them all. Crockett didn't rush to answer. She didn't flinch. She didn't look down or away. Instead, she paused for just a moment, letting the silence stretch. Then, calm as ever, she looked Hannity straight in the eye. Her voice was steady. Her words were simple, but powerful. "Sean," she said, "for someone who spent 4 years defending a president who tried to overthrow an election, I'm not sure you're in a position to lecture anyone about what's extreme." The silence that followed was unlike anything that studio had ever known. Hannity's smirk dropped. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. He sat frozen, completely lost for words. The man who always had a comeback, always had the last word, suddenly had none. In the control room, chaos broke out. Producers were talking over each other, unsure of what to do. No one had seen Hannity like this. The cameras, trained for moments like these, zoomed in on his face. The disbelief was clear. He blinked, his eyes darting for a lifeline, but no words came. Ainsley Earhart looked from Hannity to Crockett, stunned, unsure if she should step in. But there was no saving this moment. Hannity had been stopped cold. On his own show, in front of millions, Crockett saw the opening. But she didn't gloat. She didn't grin or throw insults. She stayed calm, steady, and sharp. She spoke with precision, like she had done in courtrooms for years. She pointed out the truth that everyone watching already knew. Hannity's own show had a history of spreading false claims. She reminded him of the $800 million Fox News had paid for spreading lies about the election. She questioned what that said about his legacy. Her words were careful, each one landing like a quiet blow. Hannity's face grew redder. He looked down at his notes, but they offered no help. Around the studio, the shift was clear. People who had been silent started to react. There were soft murmurs, small claps from the back where the crew stood. A few exchanged looks, half smiles they tried to hide. Hannity wasn't in charge anymore. Crockett owned the room. The power had flipped, and there was no going back. And then came the moment that would go far beyond that studio. The cameras captured Hannity's shocked, speechless face. That image, frozen in time, was all it took. Within minutes, it spread across social media. The meme was born: Hannity, the man who always spoke, now speechless. People shared it with captions like, "When someone actually answers your loaded question." The clip became a viral hit, passed from screen to screen, watched by millions. It wasn't just a TV moment anymore. It was history, sealed by a single sentence that changed everything. The moment the interview ended, the internet lit up. Within the first 30 minutes, the clip of Jasmine Crockett shutting down Sean Hannity had already been viewed 500,000 times. By the next morning, that number had exploded past 10 million across Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. People weren't just sharing the video, they were reacting to it, remixing it, turning it into memes. The still frame of Hannity's stunned face became a reaction image used in countless posts. One TikTok user added the caption, "POV, you thought you were the main character, but she brought the whole plot." What had started as just another segment on Fox News was now everywhere. News sites across the world picked it up. The BBC called it a defining moment in modern political media. Even late-night comedians overseas jumped on it. The world had taken notice. The reactions were fast and divided, but telling Democrats were celebrating like they had just won a major election. On social media, party officials, influencers, and everyday voters called it a masterclass in keeping your cool. Some said it was like watching their team win the Super Bowl. But it wasn't just the cheering that stood out, it was the tone. They weren't just happy Crockett had embarrassed Hannity. They were excited because they saw a new way forward, a playbook, something different. A young politician, calm and prepared, standing up to aggressive media and flipping the script. For many, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Even some conservatives couldn't help but show respect. A few Republican voices, especially those known for being more moderate, admitted what had happened. She kept her cool. Hannity didn't. One commentator tweeted, "You can disagree with her politics, but the woman came prepared." On the other hand, many right-wing media outlets tried to downplay the moment. Headlines, like "One interview doesn't change anything," started popping up, but the tone was defensive, like they were trying to convince themselves. The clip was still spreading. The audience was still reacting. The moment was too big to ignore. Inside Fox News, the fallout was immediate. Hannity's next few shows felt different. Viewers noticed that he wasn't as aggressive as usual. He interrupted less. He spoke slower. People who watched him for years said he looked a little off, a little less sure. Behind the scenes, sources said there were emergency meetings about how to move forward. Executives weren't just angry, they were worried. If one guest could shake the network's top host, what did that mean for the rest of their format? Going forward, they started being more careful about which Democrats they invited on air. No more underestimating a name just because it was new. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett's life changed overnight. Her social media following tripled within a week. Interview and speaking requests came in from across the country. Democratic leaders praised her in public and private. Fundraising emails started using her clip, calling her the future of the party. Young voters especially connected with her. They saw someone who looked like them, talked like them, and stood her ground without shouting. The phrase "pulling a Crockett" started showing up online. It meant standing calm in the face of pressure and winning. In the weeks that followed, classrooms and training rooms began to study the interview. Media professors played it in lectures. Political communication experts wrote essays breaking down each line, each move. They called it a rare moment, where the usual rules didn't apply, where calm facts beat loud arguments, where one moment changed everything. Strategists on the left began telling other Democrats, "Don't run away from these interviews, study them, learn the tactics, be ready. If done right, it doesn't just help, it makes headlines." That night on Fox News didn't just create a viral video, it sparked a shift. It reminded people that preparation matters, that staying calm under fire can be more powerful than shouting, that one smart, honest sentence can break through all the noise. Jasmine Crockett didn't just win a debate, she showed a whole generation how to stand up, stay cool, and speak truth on the biggest stage. With the brightest lights, and against the loudest voice in the room.